In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is. No, actually, here it is, but we're going to leave it there for now. So, before we get into it, let me talk about a category of things. The most advanced phones are called smartphones, so they say. And they typically combine a phone plus some email capability, plus they say it's the internet, sort of the baby internet, into one device, and they all have these plastic little keyboards on them. And the problem is that they're not so smart, and they're not so easy to use. So if you kind of make a Business School 101 graph of the smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones are kind of right there. They're not so smart, and they're not so easy to use. But smartphones are definitely a little smarter, but they actually are harder to use. They're really complicated. Just for the basic stuff, people have a hard time figuring out how to use them. Well, we don't want to do either one of these things. What we want to do is make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. Okay? So, we're going to reinvent the phone. Now, we're going to start with a revolutionary user interface. It is the result of years of research and development. And, of course, it's an interplay of...
So I will stop here, and we can discuss a little bit on Steve Jobs' body language, on the use of media, on the use of humor, repetition, and these basic things that I told you before about Aristotle. What can we learn from Steve Jobs in his presentation of the iPhone? Would you present your product like he presented the iPhone? Or would you like to? Please show your virtual hand if you want to comment on that. if you want to comment. Otherwise, I will go through this quickly with you. So the first thing that Steve Jobs did, I'm still waiting for your virtual hands, so please don't hesitate to use those. The first thing that Steve Jobs did was to make this moment a special moment, right? So he said, I've been waiting for this moment for 2.5 years. And this is something we can take away, that our presentation is special in two ways. The first way is we are ourselves looking forward to it. And the second specialty is we made this presentation especially for our audience. We prepared this presentation especially for our audience. So it has to be special. That's the first thing. When we analyze Steve Jobs here, he goes onto the stage. The stage is quite clean, quite clear. We see the Apple logo. We don't see any name here. Everyone is familiar with the logo and they know it's Apple. So there are as few distractions as possible. Everything is quite dark. Steve Jobs matches the whole surrounding with his outfit. And I would rather believe that it was the other way around, that the whole setting of the room was to match his outfit, because Steve Jobs' outfit didn't change for a long time. He was usually seen with jeans, with sports shoes, and with a dark sweater. So here you see the same colors resembling. Blue jeans, blue background, and dark together. Now, would you do your business presentation in jeans and sweater? You're working in green energies. My question to you, would you do your presentation in jeans and a sweater? Titu Trang Nguyen is saying yes.
Yeah, it depends.
Oh, very,
It depends.
always the best answer.
But in our office, like if I do the presentation, like I mean internally, so normally I will choose this outfit. So because it's so convenient and feel relaxed, comfortable. But then if it is a formal meeting, of course, I have to dress in the formal ways.
Okay, great. Yes, very good differentiation, and you're absolutely right. I mean, in the end, it's many times dependent on who you talk to, and especially in the green energies field, people have a rather relaxed dress code. It all changes once you go to the political or to the financial spectrum. In the political and financial spectrum, people would sometimes in Germany even wear the ties, so would dress up much more. Men would wear ties, of course. Women wouldn't wear ties, but something more like business casual appropriate, like a shirt like I'm wearing, would be more appropriate. So absolutely, it depends. In green energies, many times this kind of dress code is absolutely fine, and we have seen a shift. So the dress code got more relaxed over time in Germany. About 30 years ago, people still would wear like shirts and ties and so on, but that changed a bit. Now, maybe one thing we wouldn't do like Steve Jobs does, and these are the sports shoes here. So we can see here he's wearing sports shoes. This is something that we might not do in a normal business setting in Germany, even though I see more and more business meetings where people attend with like white sneakers. But in this case, these white sneakers should be very clean and still have kind of a business touch. So looking at the dress code here, this is the typical dress code for Steve Jobs. It might not work for everyone. Usually people dress up for a presentation a little bit more, but these colors are quite standard to use, either those darker colors, blue and black, maybe like a blue jacket and a white shirt is also very common. I'm not sure, but I thought I have prepared some of the dress codes here. Let me quickly see if I find it. No, it's not here. Maybe I can look for it later. So, okay, so Steve Jobs goes on the stage, and then he does something wonderful. He uses the art form of repetition. So basically, he says the same sentence twice, right? If we listen closely now, let's play this first part again.
This is a day.
First of all, he is saying these introductory words, and that Apple can be quite proud. Let's move on.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along.
Now, when you listen to the next sentence closely and the sentence afterwards, you will hear the same structure of the sentence. Steve Jobs will say something didn't just change the way we play with computers or listen to music, but we changed the whole industry. And this is something that in rhetorics is very, very special, and
That
makes you
changes everything.
remember these sentences much better if you repeat
And
them.
Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh.
No, it's
It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod.
So the same sentence here, introduced,
It didn't just,
not the Mac, but the iPod.
it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry.
And so, in a rhetoric way, if you say the same sentence twice with, of course, different products here, it's logically, and there comes the logos into play. If you have a rule of three and you presented two already, it means that the third product he is presenting today, the iPhone, of course, will be a minimum as revolutionary as the Mac and as the iPod before. So everyone in the audience is quite cheered up about this. Later he makes a joke also.
Well,
let's see. So this is his joke, also using some humor here. Of course, the iPhone doesn't look like that. What I think is interesting, and we see that once we follow his speech until minute 3:27. Here, you can see here, this is the first time he's actually showing his product, the new product. He's holding it in his hand and showing it here. So Steve Jobs was talking for 3.5 minutes without showing the product, and this is, I think, one of the sales points here, that he doesn't show the product for the first time, not in the first second, but he lets people kind of be surprised and builds up tension. And he only shows it here for a short time. So later he puts it back into his pocket, and it will reappear later, like after half an hour. So to create tension, it's a wise idea not to show everything at first, not to present everything, all the gold pieces that you have, right? So this is another kind of good way of marketing. What else have you seen when you saw Steve Jobs presenting here, how he's using words, how fast he talks, how his conversational pace is, if you compare it to, let's say, the dance of Steve Ballmer before. Yes, T2 Tran, please.
Okay, so I think like what impressed me the most is like Steve Jobs used quite a very short sentence, not like very long one, but very short sentence. But it very strong. It very strong statement, and also he have a data. It's an interesting part as well. Like he have the data compare the Apple product with another ones in order to highlight, in order to highlight the unique selling points of the new product. So I think it's very interesting. And his voice is like, I think he raise and then low his voice tones very, I mean, at the right moment, I can say.
Yes, perfect timing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for summing that up. Exactly. He's showing what I said before. He's showing the pain of the market, and the pain is, we can see it exactly on the slide here. Those other phones, the competitors, are very hard to use, and the cell phones are not so smart. So iPhone is a leapfrog product here. Also, the words he's using, leapfrog product, revolutionary, widescreen. So these words also paint the picture that he's changing the way we use our phone. Thank you so much. Anyone else comment on what you have seen? Also looking at his body language. Now we can see his body quite open. The arm is showing to the side, so the arm is widely stretched out. He's making a very big gesture here. And this is something, of course, he's working with a big audience and a big screen. So big gestures are maybe here more appropriate than in an online meeting, but still in an online meeting, it also makes sense. Please, Chung Lam Quang Tan.
Yes. So if we should be beyond the technically how Steve Jobs performs, he actually do it very confidently and naturally. I think it look like Steve Jobs. He do it. It's not present anything, like just tell a story and just talk to the audience, talk to the crowd.
Yes.
I am the fan of Steve Jobs, so that's why I very admire what he did. Whatever he did, he showed up his inspirational, his motivational, and the love of the Apple and love of the product. He just showed it out. He just to win from her to show off to the audience. So
absolutely,
he practiced a lot, because when he launched the iPhone, the first iPhone in the world, he do a lot of like kind of the Apple event for the developer. So he has a lot of the marketing introduction on the video. So that's why I think that he's professional in this field. And he practiced it along maybe more than 10 or 20 years, something like that, and he do it. It's very professional and confident. I hope that one day I can present something like that.
We're working on that together.
Yes, it's like a role model, you know. If we try to analyze everything, every step, so we lose the nature, and we try to copy the role model, not practice. We try to spend time to stay front of the mirror and keep talking and keep presenting. This one day we will on a bigger stage, and we can share our motivational about product or company easy as Steve Jobs did. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very warm words, and you're absolutely right. He practiced a lot, like 10, 20 years, and maybe more. So for this speech exactly, and we can see it in one short moment of the speech, that every word of this presentation he's doing, every word is kind of synchronized, has an own timing, and he's very confident here in using this timing. There's just one like a second in the talk when talking about that Apple has been very fortunate, and then he goes back and says, well, first of all, one is very fortunate to produce one of these things in a lifetime, and then he goes on, Apple has been very fortunate. So we can see here that this whole presentation, even though he looks very confident, even though there's a conversational tone to it, it's very scripted and timed to the last second. Duong Chao, please.
Yeah, thank you. I feel that I think before he launching the first iPhone, people also use the Apple, and Apple also become a famous product in the quality and in the entertainment. So I think before he launching, he also have give some information, a little rumor in the market, and on the step on the launching day, he very pleasure to slowly confirm to the audience. So we feel that slowly he very pleasure to inform one by one in the innovation of the iPod become to the iPhone, and like one by one he confirmed to the customer and audience. Yes, we coming like this. We coming connection. We coming one. So I think the very pleasure to interview one product to answer to curious of the audience and customer are waiting for. So he make the launching day very successful. Successful. Yeah, I feel that.
Yes, he is creating a fan base. So other great marketers try to do it the same way or a similar way. We can see, for example, Elon Musk doing a like strategy for Tesla, and so these big companies are trying to do it. But you're absolutely right. Steve Jobs perfected it. Chung Lam Kwang, Tan,
Yeah. So the other now it look like the same experience if we go to the bar. So when the DJ he stay on a higher floor,
Yes.
something like that, and he made the music. He built up evidence when the audience gathering, and then he dropped the right beat so the people get stunned. It's something like that. I think that it's kind of a successful formula.
That's right. So again, we come to timing and also to kind of build up the tension in the audience. And your picture that you just painted with a bar or with a disco, with a DJ, of course, a DJ doesn't play the best song when he starts, but they are building up tension, and you do that in a presentation as well. So don't show everything you have in the first second, but kind of build tension here. Okay, so Steve Jobs here goes on and talks about like basic the competition and kind of user interface, and then he talks about what iPhone is and so on. It's interesting that he uses certain words like breakthrough. Here's like these new words like syncing, security, and so on. What we don't want to have, and what the desktop class is having. So here he is presenting his whole design study, and of course the iPhone itself. Yeah. So for me, I think personally one of the best presentations, and actually also if you look at other analysts that analyze speeches, usually the iPhone presentation from Steve Jobs is ranking in the similar area as, for example, the speech of Martin Luther King about the freedom and the end of apartheid in the USA. So basically, all those speeches go back to the same philosopher, to Aristotle, because they include all these three things: an ethical argument, why should we change the way we use our telephone, an emotional argument about him, and a logical, of course, too. So now the question is, we know some rhetorics, but how can we also show in a kind of picture, how can we show our slides to be fitting to our audience? And there is a writer and also a speech analyst. I will write you the name down to the chat. Her name is Nancy Duarte, and she was creating this book called Slidology. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with Scientology. A slidology coming from the science and the science of creating great presentation, or the art and science of creating great presentations, as she says it here. So you can also already see in the body posture here a very open pose, a very friendly pose to an audience. That person has a presenter in his hand, something like this. So if you don't know this one here, it's called a spotlight, and you can use this like a laser pointer, but like you put a spotlight on that person or on that device or on the word slide, for example. This is something you could use for your presentation as well. Now let's look into PowerPoint and some, well, actually we don't look just into PowerPoint. It doesn't matter what kind of presentation tool you use. You are free to use any kind of presentation, whether it's PowerPoint or Canva or even other presentation tools. What is one? I just had one in mind, but I quickly forgot. Oh yeah, Prezi, of course. So Prezi is the third, or my favorite actually. Prezi as a presentation tool, but as Canva is getting better and better, this is great too. Who of you works or has heard about Canva presentations? I will send you a link here into the chat so that you know what I'm talking about. Who of you has heard of Canva, the program? Have you used it? I see some nodding heads. Okay, great. The other one I was thinking of is Prezi. Let me quickly share a link here too. Oh, this is just German. Let me quickly change the language. Well, it doesn't work with the language here, but I'll show it to you, and I hope it shows up for you in your language. Prezi.com would be my favorite, but Canva is great too, and of course everyone knows PowerPoint. So in general, what you have to aim for, and this is also for your presentation, so you can go over your presentations and look at them from another point of view. The first thing is contrast. So the first principle by Nancy Duarte is contrast. If you have something that is important, make it big. If you have something that is less important, make it small. It's easy as that. But contrast is not the only one where you have contrast in writing styles, but also you can see there's a color contrast here. I'm working with the same background. It's this blue background. It's actually the same blue like my company logo. And I'm using a white writing like for my company logo. If your company logo is different, if your company colors are different, you can use whatever you like. Just take care that the contrast is nice, that is not, for example, white writing on a yellow background. The second principle that Steve Jobs was using is repetition. Steve Jobs used the principle of repetition in his talk, but also in his slides. They all had the same design. They all had the same kind of argument here. In the sixth slide, you can see on the screen, you can see that there's always this little red square. There's a pin to it, like an office pin, and either there are some cameras in the picture or some books. So this is part of the repetition of the design concept of your presentation. In the end, every presentation is an artwork, right? So if you see your presentation as an artwork from an artistic perspective, that is great. Now here you can see a classic example of repetition of the rule of three. If you mention two things, then the third thing will be automatically connected to the two things before. So here this German company, I think it was Therton, they used the landing on the moon as something kind of as an eye catcher, as something to start with, and then they talked about their product. So what they wanted to say, and I think that worked out quite well, is that their products are as professional and as great as a landing on the moon, for example. So here, this, of course, the fourth picture or the third picture here on the bottom right does not have anything to do with the moon landing, but still it shows the business is about finding technical solutions. The third principle is the right focus. Now, here's the question: what are we looking at? When we look at a slide and there's a certain information I want to see in the first millisecond, I want to know what it's about. And here with this slide, I have a little bit of a problem. Maybe you can help me. What would you say is this slide about? What does this slide want to tell us? Arable land in organic production. So I see not many know or understand what this slide is telling us, but if I show you this slide, then it's much clearer. I can see, because I have the right focus here, I can see, okay, 66% of the arable land in organic production is in Europe. That's clear to me. That's much clearer to me than in the first slide, where actually the same information is on that slide, but the focus is very different. So with some easy fixes, you can change the focus completely, and you can take out the things that you don't need in a certain slide. In this case, the frames were taken out. Here, these frames and these frames, and also the legend, this one here, was embedded into the pie chart, so we can see exactly it's Europe, it's North America, and some other countries here. And also for the source is always, especially when you're using scientific information, source is very important. So in this case, the best thing to do is include the source, best with the date also, but it doesn't have to be so big. Because people, if they're interested, they can also always zoom in and look for the source. But for now, your presentation should focus on the right things, and this is the 66% in Europe here. So, principle 4, use visual images. This slide to the left says sharks, blogs are like sharks. If a blog doesn't move, it dies, like a shark dies too, and so on. So this is in German. But if we use a picture of a shark and we just use the headline and say the other things that are there in brackets, then it's much more understandable. A picture says more than 1,000 words. So my suggestion to you, if you have a few pictures in your presentation, try to think of ways to include pictures as they are speaking for themselves. This company, for example, used pictures in a great way that the pictures also resemble the company colors. You see some green and some yellow here, like the company colors, also green and yellow. So this fits perfectly. The fifth principle is, if you have too much information on your slide, unload your slide. And I can tell you most of the presentations have too much information there. There's a big difference if you are sending a presentation to a certain someone and that certain someone looks through it on their own, or if you are presenting your company. If you are presenting, if there's a speaker next to it, then of course you should unload your slides. Everything that is not necessary should be taken out. Now my question to you is, how can we unload this slide where it says work-life balance is crucial for long-term success in today's business world? It's quite a long headline. Now the question for Nancy Duarte was, how can we make this headline shorter? Do you have a suggestion to make? Or let's do it like that. You write your preferred short headline into our public chat. The shortest wins. Okay? So how can we make this headline, work-life balance is crucial for long-term success in today's business world? How can we make this headline as short as possible? I see some people are typing. That's great. Work-life balance is crucial. Work-life balance is in busy world today. Okay, yes. Maybe it does it go shorter? V is typing. Mari. Prioritize work-life balance for lasting success. Okay. I'll wait until you come up with a very short headline. The best headlines usually have 2, 3, or 4 words. If you look at newspaper headlines, for example, usually it's not like a very long sentence, but maybe 3, 4 words, sometimes even just 2. So I can see multiple users here are typing. I will wait a bit until, okay. So work-life balance is key. Oh, even better, okay. Great. Work-life balance in the 21st century. Nice. Oh, this is good. Thank you, Chung Lam Kwang Tan. You are with the little star. You're implying what Friedrich Nietzsche, the great German philosopher, said about religion and God. He once stated this very famous quote: "God is dead." So in this case, it's work-life balance is dead. Very good. That's a nice eye catcher. I like that very much. So, and it's quite short. Now it seems, and I will give you the solution that Nancy Duarte came up with, it seems that she found an even shorter way. She just said work-life balance. That's it. Still, I like work-life balance is dead more. So anyways, what Jason Small, and here you can see, like Jason Small, the name, the last name is Small, so every word here is put into small letters, and that again resembles a kind of balance, right? So when you write just with capital letters, if you write a message to someone just with capital letters, it's quite urgent, and it has to be done now, and it's quite stressful. As soon as you work with small letters, it's less stressful, and this is what Jason Small is implying here. Also, the information underneath, these three things like the page number and so on, we don't need this information. In this case, he used the first principle too, so there's a contrast. Balance is written very big, so basically the headline is just one word. It's balance. What kind of balance are we talking about? Work-life balance. And anything that Jason Small wants to add, he can add by saying it, but you don't have to write all the information on your sheet. It's even better if you have less information. So Jason Small could start his presentation by saying, "Good morning, everybody. Work-life balance is dead." He could say, "Good morning, everybody. Work-life balance is crucial for long-term success in today's business world. Today, I'll show you how to get over this in the 21st century." Something like that, right? That it is a presentation doesn't have to be there. Just the name itself is quite okay. And as I mentioned before, if you're giving a virtual speech, you don't even have to put your name there, because you can see your name in the window where you are presenting, like I see your names. What can be done with, especially for your names, and if you see that German people are struggling with pronouncing your name, you would introduce yourself, and maybe next to the name write how the name is spelled out, or how it's pronounced correctly, so people learn a little bit of Vietnamese on the way. When I was in Hue, I learned what means Xin Chào very quickly, and come on, so some classical words. And why not teach your German clients, future clients, some Vietnamese words too? And of course, it's a great idea also to start with some German words. When I logged into this meeting today, I was greeted with "Good morning," Guten Morgen, from someone in the group in German. So this is basically how you unload slides. So take out as much information that is unnecessary, and you can do that with a design approach too. So here in this case, we have a great design approach with the company logo embedded into the background. What people also do, and this is kind of again a way how we use the 3/4, how we see each presentation as an artwork, each slide as an artwork, is that we use the same thing that our professional camera or even an iPhone has that, or even a normal like an Android phone has that too, where you shape your picture in altogether 9 rectangles. And there you can adjust the golden ratio. So Leonardo da Vinci did the same thing with the golden ratio. He separated each picture in kind of turning points here. And so you don't always have to look in the center, but you can also have the kind of attention to the side a bit. So like he did with the Mona Lisa, like what he did with this man here on the right. So basically, when you have this kind of picture and this kind of headline here, then you can think yourself, well, why not take the picture to the full screen and then just take the headline and put it to the side. Here it's still very visible, it's still very nice. So try to work with the picture and your background to create some emotion. Of course, when you use pictures, use professional pictures only. There are so many great possibilities to use pictures that you find on the internet. Just be clear that you are allowed to use those pictures that you're using on the internet. Some pictures might have a watermark, some pictures might not have the best quality, and some pictures you might not own the rights to. So be safe on what pictures you choose and own the rights to those pictures. But there are many kind of pictures to use freely. You can use your own pictures as well in presentations. We have, for example, promotion displays. So these are typical promotion displays you can use in an offline presentation. Furthermore, you can use agencies, advertising like newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, outdoor advertising, flyers, cross-promotion, exhibition activity, and social media. When you look at those points here, newspapers, magazines, radio and TV, outdoor advertising, flyers, cross-promotion, and so on, and exhibition and social media, what do you think do German companies spend most money on when it comes to advertising? To whom of those areas here goes the most money, the most budget in Germany when it comes to advertising? What do you think? Is it newspapers? Is it magazines? Is it radio and TV? Is it outdoor exhibition, social media? What do you think? Great. I see some people using the chat, so please keep doing that and write into the chat what you think. Outdoor and exhibition. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Outdoor and exhibition is not the right answer, but still exhibition activity is very important in Germany. So when you come to Germany, then you should visit possible exhibitions. I'm very sure that our colleagues from Die Beratung have prepared some amazing program for you, so that you are able to visit the exhibitions and then kind of outdoor activities. Newspapers is also a market, but it's a dying market. So newspapers, and we're talking about like paper newspapers, not online newspapers. Newspapers in the old-fashioned way are is a dying market. So there's still some money invested, but another factor gets much more budget among these. Okay, I will lift the secret, all right? It's radio and TV. So when you look at today's numbers, social media, the budget for social media of companies doing advertising on TikTok, on Instagram, and so on, is rising every day. But still, today, radio and TV receives the most advertising in Germany yet. So very classic advertising still, even in the year 2024, radio and TV. So this part here, radio and TV. And of course, social media is important too, and gaining much more importance. What you can do in presentations, and I told you before, you might be a little bit careful here using videos. You see already when you're looking at this video right now, or actually I'm showing 4 videos. When I show those videos to you, those videos don't play very fluently, but there is a little bit of a delay in the video. So I have made the best experience with showing videos, but showing videos without sound, because sometimes the sound can be delayed and something like that. So in order to keep this kind of connection to your audience, if you show a video from your company, from your products, then comment it yourself. You be the own speaker and commenter of the video, but not the video itself. Otherwise, you could send them this video link before the talk if you want to show them a video, right? So to sum it up, we have a goal statement, pain and gain. Before our presentation, we talk about the current situation, what's up right now, and how we want to change the situation. What Germans very much like is the agenda, so that we briefly say, we will today take the time to talk about this and that and that, and I will talk about 15 minutes, and then we'll have 10 minutes to discuss. That would be perfect, so the people don't get nervous about the timing. As you heard in our intercultural seminar, timing is very important for Germans. This is something else. And here's the picture I wanted to show you before about the dress code. So this is on the left side, you see a very formal dress code. Today you find this dress code in a bank, you find this dress code in the parliament, so in the political sector, but most people are rather kind of casual, business casual, relaxed, walking around either in jeans or pants like these on the right side. Few have even a jacket, so many just with a shirt on, very casual. Okay. To sum it up, so ask yourself why you are presenting, then block out some time and rehearse your presentation. Rehearsing means that you try and try and try. Like it was said before, Steve Jobs wasn't always that confident. He trained his presentation skills for 10 to 20 years, and I am sure that you have trained your presentation skills already for some time already, and that you can keep doing so. So be confident, practice, so that you have the same kind of idea. Now, the question is, how do you rehearse? I usually say, do the presentation in front of your spouse or your wife or your partner, your husband. You can do this presentation in front of your kids too, to someone that maybe doesn't know so much about the topic. If it's in English, of course, that might be a little challenge to your kids at least. Now, the question is, who is your best critic? Well, your best critic is, of course, you yourself. And so what my best experience is, I take my telephone. If I'm not sure about a certain topic, how long it's going to be, how much time I will be talking about it, I will use my telephone. I put the camera mode on, and then I record myself. Later I play that recording, and usually you are your best critic, so you can use this recording to give yourself some feedback to the topic. If you're not doing that, your audience will look like this, but of course you don't want this to happen. So what do? Well, you keep in contact, you keep a connection to an audience. And I know that not everyone of us is born a natural speaker. I'm also not born as a natural speaker, I have to tell you the truth. So what helps me personally is positive thinking, is of course a good preparation. are some notes, rehearsal again, so to train the presentation, but also a positive attitude. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen to me or to your company, to you or your company, when something goes wrong in this presentation? And I think usually the worst thing that can happen is also the best thing that can happen, and that is that you gain experience. If something goes wrong, you are clever enough not to make this mistake again, so your motivation should be high up. You have been selected among many Vietnamese managers to be part of this program, so you can be already very proud of yourself that you are doing this here and that you have the possibility to open up business opportunities with German possible clients. Now, the next part, and maybe I wanted to ask you if you need a short break, because the next video will be, let's see, about 15 minutes long. And I wanted to show you one of the speeches that I think is quite great from, wait, was it from?
So I want to start by...
So, Amy Cuddy. Amy Cuddy is a very influential scientist on body language. And as you were speaking about body language before, for me it made sense that I show you this video of Amy Cuddy. We can find this video also on TED Talks, but I think it's great to look at this video together. Now, Amy Cuddy will use those 3 parts from Aristotle. I will write this down again. Oops. So ethos, pathos, and logos. And she will use this in her talk. Her talk has the perfect length of about 18 minutes. And here she will use storytelling. She will use ethos and pathos in a great way, so that we can follow her along. And during her talk, we will also analyze her body language. We can learn something about body language itself. So she's a very good professional here. Before I show this video, do you have any questions or any remarks from your part? I see Tito Trang is typing, or not anymore. Okay, so if you have any remarks, feel free to share them in this chat. Otherwise, I think you heard the sound already, so I can play this video, and feel free to write something into the comments here and to our public chat. Latest in 18 minutes, I will get back to you here and we can discuss about what she found out, which is great for our presentations as well to learn from. Okay, so have fun with the video by Amy Cuddy.
I am offering you a free no-tech life hack.
I will go back a little bit so you can see from the beginning.
So I want to start by offering you a free no-tech life hack. And all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. But before I give it away, I want to ask you to right now do a little audit of your body and what you're doing with your body. So how many of you are sort of making yourselves smaller? Maybe you're hunching, crossing your legs, maybe wrapping your ankles or arms like this. Sometimes we spread out. I see you. So I want you to pay attention to what you're doing right now. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes. And I'm hoping that if you sort of learn to tweak this a little bit, it could significantly change the way your life unfolds. So we're really fascinated with body language, and we're particularly interested in other people's body language. You know, we're interested in, like, you know, an awkward interaction, or a smile, or a contemptuous glance, or maybe a very awkward wink, or maybe even something like a handshake.
Here they are arriving at number 10, and look at this lucky policeman gets to shake hands with the President of the United States. Oh, and here comes the Prime Minister of it. No.
So a handshake, or the lack of a handshake, can have us talking for weeks and weeks and weeks, even the BBC and the New York Times. So obviously, when we think about nonverbal behavior or body language, but we call it nonverbals as social scientists, it's language. So we think about communication. When we think about communication, we think about interactions. So what is your body language communicating to me? What's mine communicating to you? And there's a lot of reason to believe that this is a valid way to look at this. So social scientists have spent a lot of time looking at the effects of our body language or other people's body language on judgments. And we make sweeping judgments and inferences from body language. And those judgments can predict really meaningful life outcomes, like who we hire or promote, who we ask out on a date. For example, Nalini Ambady, a researcher at Tufts University, shows that when people watch 30-second soundless clips of real physician-patient interactions, their judgments of the physician's niceness predict whether or not that physician will be sued. So it doesn't have to do so much with whether or not that physician was incompetent, but do we like that person and how they interacted? Even more dramatic, Alex Todorov at Princeton has shown us that judgments of political candidates' faces in just 1 second predict 70% of US Senate and gubernatorial race outcomes. And even, let's go digital, emoticons used well in online negotiations can lead you to claim more value from that negotiation. If you use them poorly, bad idea, right? So when we think of nonverbals, we think of how we judge others, how they judge us, and what the outcomes are. We tend to forget, though, the other audience that's influenced by our nonverbals, and that's ourselves. We are also influenced by our nonverbals, our thoughts and our feelings and our physiology. So what nonverbals am I talking about? I'm a social psychologist. I study prejudice, and I teach at a competitive business school. So it was inevitable that I would become interested in power dynamics. I became especially interested in nonverbal expressions of power and dominance. And what are nonverbal expressions of power and dominance? Well, this is what they are. So in the animal kingdom, they are about expanding. So you make yourself big, you stretch out, you take up space, you're basically opening up. It's about opening up. And this is true across the animal kingdom. It's not just limited to primates, and humans do the same thing. So they do this both when they have power sort of chronically, and also when they're feeling powerful in the moment. And this one is especially interesting because it really shows us how universal and old these expressions of power are. This expression, which is known as pride, Jessica Tracy has studied, she shows that people who are born with sight and people who are congenitally blind do this when they win at a physical competition. So when they cross the finish line and they've won, it doesn't matter if they've never seen anyone do it, they do this. So the arms up in the V, the chin is slightly lifted. What do we do when we feel powerless? We do exactly the opposite. We close up, we wrap ourselves up, we make ourselves small. We don't want to bump into the person next to us. So again, both animals and humans do the same thing. And this is what happens when you put together high and low power. So what we tend to do when it comes to power is that we complement the other's nonverbals. So if someone's being really powerful with us, we tend to make ourselves smaller. We don't mirror them, we do the opposite of them. So I'm watching this behavior in the classroom, and what do I notice? I notice that MBA students really exhibit the full range of power nonverbals. So you have people who are like caricatures of alphas, like really coming into the room. They get right into the middle of the room. before class even starts, like they really want to occupy space. When they sit down, they're sort of spread out, they raise their hands like this. You have other people who are virtually collapsing when they come in. As soon as they come in, you see it. You see it on their faces and their bodies, and they sit in their chair and they make themselves tiny, and they go like this when they raise their hand. I noticed a couple things about this. One, you're not going to be surprised. It seems to be related to gender. So women are much more likely to do this kind of thing than men. Women feel chronically less powerful than men, so this is not surprising. But the other thing I noticed is that it also seemed to be related to the extent to which the students were participating and how well they were participating. And this is really important in the MBA classroom because participation counts for half the grade. So business schools have been struggling with this gender grade gap. You get these equally qualified women and men coming in, and then you get these differences in grades, and it seems to be partly attributable to participation. So I started to wonder, okay, so you have these people coming in like this and they're participating. Is it possible that we could get people to fake it, and would it lead them to participate more? So my main collaborator, Dana Carney, who's at Berkeley, and I really wanted to know, can you fake it till you make it? Like, can you do this just for a little while and actually experience a behavioral outcome that makes you seem more powerful? So we know that our nonverbals govern how other people think and feel about us. There's a lot of evidence, but our question really was, do our nonverbals govern how we think and feel about ourselves? There's some evidence that they do. So, for example, when we smile when we feel happy, but also when we're forced to smile by holding a pen in our teeth like this, it makes us feel happy. So it goes both ways. When it comes to power, it also goes both ways. So when you feel powerful, you're more likely to do this, but it's also possible that when you pretend to be powerful, you are more likely to actually feel powerful. So the second question really was, so we know that our minds change our bodies, but is it also true that our bodies change our minds? And when I say minds, in the case of the powerful, what am I talking about? So I'm talking about thoughts and feelings and the sort of physiological things that make up our thoughts and feelings. And in my case, that's hormones. I look at hormones. So what do the minds of the powerful versus the powerless look like? So powerful people tend to be, not surprisingly, more assertive and more confident, more optimistic. They actually feel that they're going to win even at games of chance. They also tend to be able to think more abstractly. So there are a lot of differences. They take more risks. There are a lot of differences between powerful and powerless people. Physiologically, there also are differences on two key hormones, testosterone, which is the dominance hormone, and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So what we find is that high-power alpha males in primate hierarchies have high testosterone and low cortisol. And powerful and effective leaders also have high testosterone and low cortisol. So what does that mean? When you think about power, people tended to think only about testosterone because that was about dominance. But really, power is also about how you react to stress. So do you want the high-power leader that's dominant, high on testosterone, but really stress reactive? Probably not, right? You want the person who's powerful and assertive and dominant, but not very stress reactive, the person who's laid back. So we know that in primate hierarchies, if an alpha needs to take over, individually, that individual's TET has gone up significantly and his cortisol has dropped significantly. So we have this evidence, both that the body can shape the mind, at least at the facial level, and also that role changes can shape the mind. So what happens, okay, you take a role change, what happens if you do that at a really minimal level, like this tiny manipulation, this tiny intervention? For 2 minutes you say, I want you to stand like this, and it's going to make you feel more powerful. So this is what we did. We decided to bring people into the lab and run a little experiment. And these people adopted for 2 minutes either high power poses or low power poses. And I'm just going to show you 5 of the poses, although they took on only 2. So here's one, couple more. This one has been dubbed the Wonder Woman by the media. Here are a couple more. So you can be standing or you can be sitting. And here are the low power poses. So you're folding up, you're making yourself small. This one is very low power. When you're touching your neck, you're really kind of protecting yourself. So this is what happens. They come in, they spit into a vial. We, for 2 minutes, say, you need to do this or this. They don't look at pictures of the poses. We don't want to prime them with the concept of power. We want them to be feeling power, right? So 2 minutes they do this. We then ask them, how powerful do you feel on a series of items? And then we give them an opportunity to gamble. And then we take another saliva sample. That's it. That's the whole experiment. So this is what we find. Risk tolerance, which is the gambling. What we find is that when you're in the high power pose condition, 86% of you will gamble. When you're in the low power pose condition, only 60%. And that's a pretty whopping significant difference. Here's what we find on testosterone. From their baseline when they come in, high power people experience about a 20% increase. And low power people experience about a 10% decrease. So again, 2 minutes and you get these changes. Here's what you get on cortisol. High power people experience about a 25% decrease, and the low power people experience about a 15% increase. So 2 minutes lead to these hormonal changes that configure your brain to basically be either assertive, confident, and comfortable, or really stress reactive, and feeling sort of shut down. And we've all had that feeling, right? So it seems that our nonverbals do govern how we think and feel about ourselves. So it's not just others, but it's also ourselves. Also, our bodies change our minds. But the next question, of course, is, can power posing for a few minutes really change your life in meaningful ways? So this is in the lab, it's this little task, it's just a couple of minutes. Where can you actually apply this, which we cared about, of course. And so we think it's really what matters, where you want to use this is evaluative situations, like social threat situations. Where are you being evaluated? Either by your friends, like for teenagers, it's at the lunchroom table. It could be, for some people, it's speaking at a school board meeting. It might be giving a pitch or giving a talk like this or doing a job interview. We decided that the one that most people could relate to, because most people had been through, was the job interview. So we published these findings, and the media are all over it, and they say, okay, so this is what you do when you go in for the job interview, right? So we were, of course, horrified and said, oh my God, no, that's not what we meant at all for numerous reasons. No, don't do that. Again, this is not about you talking to other people, it's you talking to yourself. What do you do before you go into a job interview? You do this, right? You're sitting down, you're looking at your iPhone or your Android, not trying to leave anyone out. You're looking at your notes, you're hunching up, making yourself small, when really what you should be doing maybe is this, like in the bathroom. Right? Do that, find 2 minutes. So that's what we want to test, okay? So we bring people into a lab and they do either high or low power poses again. They go through a very stressful job interview. It's 5 minutes long. They are being recorded, they're being judged also. And the judges are trained to give no nonverbal feedback. So they look like this. Like imagine this is the person interviewing you. So for 5 minutes, nothing. And this is worse than being heckled. People hate this. It's what Marianne LaFrance calls standing in social quicksand. So this really spikes your cortisol. So this is the job interview we put them through because we really wanted to see what happened. We then have these coders look at these tapes, 4 of them. They're blind to the hypothesis, they're blind to the conditions, they have no idea who's been posing in what pose. And they end up looking at these sets of tapes and they say, oh, we want to hire these people, all the high power posers. We don't want to hire these people. We also evaluate these people much more positively overall. But what's driving it? It's not about the content of the speech. It's about the presence that they're bringing to the speech. We also, because we rate them on all these variables related to sort of competence, like how well structured is the speech? How good is it? What are their qualifications? No effect on those things. This is what's affected. These kinds of things. People are bringing their true selves, basically. They're bringing themselves. They bring their ideas, but as themselves, with no, residue over them. So this is what's driving the effect or mediating the effect. So when I tell people about this, that our bodies change our minds, and our minds can change our behavior, and our behavior can change our outcomes, they say to me, it feels fake, right? So I said, fake it till you make it. Like, it's not me. Like, I don't want to get there and then still feel like a fraud. I don't want to feel like an imposter. I don't want to get there only to feel like I'm not supposed to be here. And that really resonated with me, because I want to tell you a little story about being an imposter and feeling like I'm not supposed to be here. When I was 19, I was in a really bad car accident. I was thrown out of a car, rolled several times. I was thrown from the car, and I woke up in a head injury rehab ward, and I had been withdrawn from college, and I learned that my IQ had dropped by 2 standard deviations, which was very traumatic. I knew my IQ because I had identified with being smart, and I had been called gifted as a child. So I'm taken out of college. I keep trying to go back. They say, you're not going to finish college. Like, just, there are other things for you to do, but that's not going to work out for you. So I really struggled with this. And I have to say, having your identity taken from you, your core identity, and for me, it was being smart, having that taken from you, there's nothing that leaves you feeling more powerless than that. So I felt entirely powerless. I worked and worked and worked, and I got lucky and worked and got lucky and worked. Eventually, I graduated from college. It took me 4 years longer than my peers. And I convinced someone, my angel advisor, Susan Fisk, to take me on. And so I ended up at Princeton, and I was like, I am not supposed to be here. I am an imposter. And the night before my first year talk, and the first year talk at Princeton is a 20-minute talk to 20 people. That's it. I was so afraid of being found out the next day that I called her and said, I'm quitting. She was like, you are not quitting, because I took a gamble on you and you're staying. You're going to stay, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to fake it. You're going to do every talk that you ever get asked to do. You're just going to do it and do it and do it, even if you're terrified and just paralyzed and having an out-of-body experience, until you have this moment where you say, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. Like, I have become this. I am actually doing this. So that's what I did. 5 years in grad school. A few years, I'm at Northwestern. I moved to Harvard. I'm at Harvard. I'm not really thinking about it anymore. But for a long time, I had been thinking, not supposed to be here, not supposed to be here. So at the end of my first year at Harvard, a student who had not talked in class the entire semester, who I had said, look, you got to participate or else you're going to fail, came into my office. I really didn't know her at all. And she came in totally defeated, and she said, I'm not supposed to be here. And that was the moment for me, because 2 things happened. One was that I realized, oh my gosh, I don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel that anymore, but she does, and I get that feeling. And the second was, she is supposed to be here. Like, she can fake it, she can become it. So he's like, yes, you are. You are supposed to be here, and tomorrow you're gonna fake it, you're gonna make yourself powerful, and you're gonna and you're gonna go into the classroom, and you are gonna give the best comment ever, And she gave the best comment ever, and people turned around. They were like, "Oh my God, I didn't even notice her sitting there." She comes back to me months later, and I realized that she had not just faked it till she made it; she had actually faked it till she became it. So she had changed, and so I want to say to you: don't fake it till you make it. Fake it till you become it. It's not do it enough until you actually become it and internalize. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is this. Tiny tweaks can lead to big changes. So this is 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Before you go into the next stressful evaluative situation, for 2 minutes, try doing this in the elevator, in a bathroom stall, at your desk behind closed doors. That's what you want to do. Configure your brain to cope the best in that situation. Get your testosterone up, get your cortisol down. Don't leave that situation feeling like, oh, I didn't show them who I am. Leave that situation feeling like, oh, I really feel like I got to say who I am and show who I am. So I want to ask you first, both to try power posing, and also I want to ask you to share the science, because this is simple. I don't have ego involved in this. Give it away, share it with people, because the people who can use it the most are the ones with no resources and no technology and no status and no power. Give it to them, because they can do it in private. They need their bodies, privacy, and 2 minutes. and it can significantly change the outcomes of their life. Thank you.
So we have seen 20 minutes of Amy Cuddy presenting here, and also she presented about a topic that is interesting for us, about so-called power posing and what we can do in 2 minutes. Now my question to you is, what did you learn out of this video? We have seen three presenters today, well, including me, so 4. But looking at the first one, very short video, we saw a guy dancing and being very passionate about the product. In the second video, we saw Steve Jobs showing the iPhone. And in the third video, we saw Amy Cuddy presenting those, well, she was storytelling too, especially in the last part of the speech. Everyone that she couldn't reach with ethos and logos, she reached with pathos, with storytelling. In the last 4 minutes, from minute 16 to 20, she shared her own story of a tragic accident. It was very emotional. People cried in the room. And when I first watched this video, I cried myself, because she does it so heartwarming. And then she uses, and this is the classic deal here, she uses emotional intelligence. So not just like the classic intelligence, not just facts and figures, but also her own personal story. What else could we see from Amy Cuddy when we look at her body language, when we look at her speech styles? What else did you notice? Maybe Duong Chao. What did you notice when we are looking at her expression here? She has this nice outfit on. Please.
Thank you for asking, and I feel that she has a very good design outside to fit for the meeting like this with the audience, and her express, her body language, everything is good. But I think only one thing, she talks too fast and too much. So,
yes, okay.
So I maybe because we are outside of the business, she have present, so maybe not understand much what she is focusing in this meeting. So, but the performance, it look great. The outside or the body language or talking, just only she talks very fast and too much. So I feel that my heart is beating too fast to listen.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is one mistake that many presenters do. And this is a natural mistake, because
Yeah.
when you rehearse for a certain speech and you think, oh, I can do this better, and you rehearse again and again and again, with every time you get faster and faster and faster, because it's your story. You know this, and you get faster automatically. The same, and this is happening when we practice. When I practice running on the beach, maybe the first time it takes me half an hour for 5 kilometers, and then the second time 28 minutes, third time 27, and at some point I will reach 20 minutes for 5 kilometers. So the same goes for speaking, and you are absolutely right. We have to watch out for the point where our speech is too fast for others to listen. And this is one of the major advice here, to take into consideration that you shouldn't speak faster than others can listen. And the second consideration is, of course, remember that most people don't listen anyways, because when we are talking fast, people forget easily. So when we want something to stick to a person, when we want a person to remember about our business, our company, our portfolio, then we should put this information many times, repeat this information, and speak it loud and clear and not too fast. So great
I
observation.
think
Thank you so much.
some emphasize or something she need because she's like continually and so much fast. So maybe the audience they couldn't keep on the information you want to share. That's it. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. So in this case, the audience, you could see it here. This speech was given in Edinburgh, so in Scotland, and the audience was Scottish. So they knew English as a first language, which of course makes it easier. You can then maybe talk to an audience where English is their native language. You can talk to them maybe a little bit faster. If you have a German audience, if I have a Vietnamese audience, I will watch out not to talk too fast, because for us, for you and myself as well, English is a foreign language. And so it's good to speak slow enough so everyone can understand, think about it, and ask a question. What else can we...
Yeah, sorry. For us also sometimes some presentation for our language. We think that we have to watching our audience to see what they can consume on the information or not, or we can adjust the speed to get the information, to transfer the information to the customer. So for me in here, even we use the mother language, we also not it may not try to speak so fast. Influent is okay, but not so fast. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So yes, this is the one thing that we watch out for. When we look at her body language, then we can see she's quite concise. Her hands are many times together. This is something that many politicians do as well. When the hands are together, it shows that we are one with each other, that both brain parts are basically connected, the logical thinking and the emotional thinking. So this is what this hands together basically means, but it's also to kind of be whole. Right now, it's already 4 p.m. and I don't know what my colleagues from Die Beratung told you. Are we doing this seminar today until 4 or 4:30? I'm not sure. Can you tell me 4 or 4:30? Otherwise, we are mostly done with today's topic. And tomorrow, I will also give you the links for the presentations, because I noticed that some internet connections are not the best. So I will give you those links also. I will upload this presentation into the presentation skills site here. Oh, 4:30, great. Okay, we have some time. That's wonderful. So I will upload this presentation here into this link, so we can all share this presentation. And for tomorrow, I have, sorry. My idea is to do the presentations, but here it is. Okay. Now you should see that, yes. So for tomorrow, your task will be to present your company in 5 minutes. Each one of you will get 5 minutes to present their company, and you will get a feedback from the whole group. Of course, from me personally, you will get a feedback, and also from the rest of the group. Of course, I'm pretty sure all the presentations will be excellent. And so we can rehearse our presentation styles and get some some advice on what to do better. We can also go into detail tomorrow. We can, if you like to do it, we can call other companies for possible connections and business opportunities. So I'm very open to anything that goes for tomorrow. And now I have about 25 minutes to answer your questions, anything else. Of course, I could talk about body language and also voice and words to use forever. But of course, I also don't want to bore you, but just give you the most exciting and interesting facts. Do you have any questions for now? Yes, please, Kim Nguyen. I can't hear you. I cannot hear you, even though the microphone is unmuted. We are not able to hear you. Very sorry about that. Would it be possible that you write your question into the public chat window so I can answer to you? As it seems you can hear me, unfortunately, I am not able to hear you. So if you can write the questions in the chat, that'd be great. I have some surrounding noises here. I'll close the window quickly. So, of course, the others are free to write any question or comment also into the chat if you like. I want to also share a book with you on presentations. No, I don't have it here. But one thing that I have here is really interesting. This book, it's a German book. It's called On Business in Vietnam. Maybe you have heard of this book in your intercultural seminar, but this helps me quite a lot to get familiar with.
Actually,
Yes.
I got this book. It's called On Business with Germans.
Oh, cool. And is it also from Alexander Thomas?
Yeah. I bought it. I bought it like 8 years ago.
Did you? Okay.
A friend introduced me. I bought it in Munich.
All right.
Pretty awesome. Yes.
Yes. It's wonderful. I mean, Thomas, he works with cultural standards, and he wrote the same book for Vietnam from the German perspective. If German managers are going to Vietnam and doing a training there. But I believe, no, I didn't copy any examples out here. I mean, sometimes I do this, and if you're interested, I can prepare this for tomorrow, that I take one of the case studies and translate them in English. This is quite interesting. Of course, all the case studies here are in German, but it's interesting how you would proceed from your standpoint. Yes, great that you bought it. It's really quite a help, especially for intercultural communication. I guess you don't have to take everything very serious in this book because some of the things are outdated. Our culture lives on, of course. Still quite helpful for the first part.
But I think you know, what I realized after interculture, you know, and then it's more people adapt their culture, you know, international meeting. So.
Absolutely, yes, we adapt to each other. So, Kim Nguyen is asking about the next lesson. Well, our next lesson, so the next lesson with me is tomorrow. Tomorrow we start the same time at 1 p.m. And I'm not sure about your lessons on Friday or Thursday. So this is, the best thing is to talk to Nagas about these lessons, but I will be there tomorrow at 1 p.m. for you. And tomorrow at 1 p.m. we are doing this exercising, evaluating, so you will get a feedback on your presentation. Each of you will be allowed to give a 5-minute presentation, quick one.
So our task for tomorrow is to present 5 minutes for each person present their company. Is that right?
Yes, to present your company and what you want from a German business. So what we will do, kind of a role play. You present your company, and I will be your let's say your wish communication partner. If, for example, you want to talk to the German company Mercedes-Benz, then I will be a representative of Mercedes-Benz. We do this role play, and you try to sell me your product, okay? And so by that, I will give you a feedback on what works well as a presentation style to a German audience and what can be improved.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. So I want to make sure, because I confuse for the task for present. So, okay, thank you so much, teacher. So,
thank you, important question,
yeah,
yes.
I will change my calendar because I got the 2 tasks. I don't got any task for tomorrow, so I need to change now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me quickly check in the events calendar.
Yeah, I check on event calendar. Is on Friday afternoon at the same time.
Okay.
So I want to confirm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to confirm.
I'll give you this link. This is node 9442, and if you follow this link, this is tomorrow, April 3rd, starting at 8 o'clock. And Mrs. Schubert has set this up. So according to Global Campus, it's tomorrow, but please correct me if I'm wrong. So here in Global Campus, and according to my information, our next seminar is tomorrow.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I think I missed this part tomorrow, so I need to book on my calendar. So thank you so much.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
yes, there should be. There should be. No, there's. You can add it to iCalendar.
Yeah.
Let me quickly show you here. If you go to iCalendar on this button here, you can possibly add it to your calendar.
Right. I got it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for sharing today. Yeah, very useful for us.
Great. I'm happy about your comment. Thank you so much. Anything else? Anything you want to share?
So I just have comment about the last speaker. See you so like public narrative methods to present on the TED Talk, and very interesting. So that the way she can get in motion with the audience, and I feel it's very wonderful present from her. So yeah, okay. Next time if I have time, I can share you a little bit of my present. So for your comment, thank you so much for your sharing.
Thank you. Another name I want to drop in the end, and I have his book somewhere here. It's like 2 meters away, but I'm too lazy to get it now. I wrote the name in the chat, Joe Navarro. Joe Navarro is an expert on body language. He was a former FBI agent and wrote a wonderful book, How Our Body Talks. Joe Navarro is the name. So if you are interested in the topic of body language, this is also a great book look at, or maybe even you find a TED talk or something like that to prepare for your presentation tomorrow. So in the end, of course, it's all about rehearsing. It's looking at other presentations, and tomorrow we have the possibility to do that together. The nice thing about, and I really am looking forward to the day of tomorrow, because we will see each other's presentation, we can learn from each other, and we will also certainly find win-win situations where we think, oh great, my colleague from the Vietnamese group, from our group, he's doing something similar like a client of mine, and maybe I can connect them. So usually tomorrow is also a great opportunity to find out about synergies and about possible cooperation ideas. If you don't have any more questions, we can close the session already. I will send you the final the final presentation as a PDF, as I mentioned before, and then I'm looking forward to see you all tomorrow, healthy and happy like today, with lots of cameras on and lots of questions, of course, and lots of comments. So thank you for today. Have a wonderful evening. Greetings to Vietnam, and I'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.
Thank you.